You're on.
Good morning. This is Tufton Borough Board of Selectmen's meeting, July 26th. This is a continuation after a non-public session. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so public input.
William Eagle, for the record. You know the Lions property on Sodom Road?
Yes.
It's tied up with the town right now. And I'm in the process with Vicky to try to buy the property when it gets straightened out.
Yep.
All the legal mumbo jumbo. I came to town the other day to see if anybody had looked at the property, to see if there's any, problems or anything. They said they didn't think so. And I'd like to look at it myself because I potentially want to buy it. You can understand that. But also, I think the town should go look at it, maybe just to make sure it ain't flooded or something like that. Just take a peek inside. A look-see, I guess you'd call it, But I'd like to go, probably Jack would be the one that should go up and do it, I'd like to kind of coordinate things so I could go with him. I don't know if that's a problem, having,
So we
somebody
haven't
else.
made the election to put it on the market. We own it, she doesn't own it.
Well, to a point you own it.
We own it. We have title to the property. What happens with the money upon the sale
Right.
is the only condition.
Right.
So she has nothing to say about who buys it or when we sell
Other
it.
than she has the right to redeem it.
She can
before it
redeem
goes
it
to
if she-
Well, that's what she was planning on doing.
And you're looking to work a situation.
She was planning on, like, this thing gets straightened out as far as the 23 acres they
Yeah.
want to take. And there's like $100,000 the town put up to work with that.
Right.
Now,
Now, I'm assuming that the fine money may come out of that 100,000.
it's all gonna come
Well,
out of that.
yeah.
Yeah,
There'll be
she
money left.
owes about 50,000 in the property.
And whatever's left from that will go to her.
Right.
Right.
And whatever's left of the property will go back to her.
Right.
At which point she
She
can
can do whatever she
Well,
wants.
that's what we're
Do what she
planning.
wants.
That's what I've been working with her on that.
Yeah.
And her lawyer, and the Lovett's lawyer,
Yeah.
Jim and his wife and stuff. And I kind of know.
So you're looking for permission to enter
Do all
the
this
house, to
Basically, yeah,
take a walk through.
kind of take a walk through,
Yeah.
at least before I commit myself to something that I realize nobody's lived in it, I don't know how long now, and there's gonna be issues.
It's been a while, and I know that last fall, when we took possession of it, it was secured, and the utilities are off and that sort of thing.
Right,
So I would say, and this is just speaking for me, nobody's gonna enter that property without the code officer being there.
no, I understand that, yeah.
How do you guys feel about?
I wouldn't want
about
to go
him?
in the property without him, because if something's missing, then she's
Right.
gonna come to, and
Right,
the town's gonna come to you and go, where's my stuff,
yeah.
And,
So how do you guys feel about a potential?
Yeah, I don't wanna wrap Jack up with home visits day after day, but
Right.
I think
I guess my feeling is, I think yours is too, that if you can arrange something with Jack to go up and take a look through.
I'm
that's
on
fine.
board with that.
I mean,
Yep.
I think it's somewhat in the town's interest too, to make sure that the property's, because if you take possession of it, you're responsible for it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if the basement's flooded, for whatever reason,
we're
natural runoff.
responsible for its market value, so our job is to bring that property back into the tax roll.
Right,
So if it's unlivable, it's less valuable. So
Right,
it's
right,
less
right.
able to do that.
but what's unlivable to some people is different than other people.
I suppose.
Well, again, I don't have any problem with your
No.
arranging with the code officer.
That's the thing to do.
To visit the property.
Yeah.
The other problem I'm concerned with is the property on the tax records has a naturally obstructed view. So they're paying some kind of view tax on the property. They claim it's a naturally obstructed, which it is, you know, there's trees growing up and stuff. And the land that you're gonna take, I believe, is the land that's gonna go down to the river in front of the house. You know, what guarantee can I work out as far as being able to keep that natural view or?
Okay, as the Conservation Commission representative from the Board of Selectmen, we don't intend to do anything with that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And if everything grows up and then you lose your view.
Then your assessment should go down.
Right, but your value goes down too.
Yes.
At the same time.
But the Conservation Commission intends to do nothing at all with that section of the property. Leave it natural and let it do its thing.
But all I'm saying is that the house should have some kind of easement as far as being able to maintain that view to a point.
So that's a scenario that you need to negotiate with the conservation.
Yes.
Well, see, I talked to some of the lawyers and they said, go talk to the town, so, and ask what the town, how the town feels about it. So that's what
I mean, generally speaking, the conservation easements, when they're privately given or sold, can have conditions.
Well, they're putting conditions on it. The Lovitts and stuff are putting conditions on
Put
it.
conditions on it. They haven't put anything on it.
Well, they're working on trying
Because
to.
They're trying to.
Right.
But we need to work in the town's best interest, not in the singular person's best interest. But if you were to buy it or enter into a purchase and sale and then approach the Conservation Commission about some conditions on the easement, that might work. I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know
It's a place to start.
yeah.
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 Well,
You
I
could,
don't-
you could attend the next Conservation Commission meeting, for example, and discuss it with them.
yeah.
And they're open to the public's input for sure, and especially potential buyer.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because there's access issues. There's all kinds of things that might.
right.
I mean, they're already,
Bargaining
the
chips.
town's already taken a pretty good portion of the value of the property by taking the 23 acres.
Yeah, once we consummate that deal.
Right, right. I mean, that's quite a bit of value right there,
Yeah.
that 23 acres. Because if you think about it, it's a 2-acre, 150-foot right-of-way on the road. So theoretically, you could put several house lots right up Sodom Road. So there is some value in that land
Right.
that the
And
conservation.
that's why we're at 100 grand and not at 50 or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
not just backland.
No. But,
So it's-
and if you're already losing some of the value of the property, then you lose your easement for the view. I mean, what is the property worth after that, you
and does
know?
it work? Well, that's
Well,
a decision.
it's a home on a 2-acre lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But I think some of the land that's down front where the view is won't go with the 2 acres. So you can keep it open to have the view. It's gonna be under the Conservation Trust. And then, you know, they could just say, no, we don't want you to touch it, and then, you know, you're stuck with what you got.
Well, I think what we need to do is have a proposal if you're gonna do something different. I mean, we haven't surveyed that property yet. So if you were to say, okay, I'm a buyer, but only if I get the additional 2 acres or whatever it amounts to.
I mean, are they really stuck on the 23 acres, or?
It's, I don't know.
We wouldn't call it being stuck on it, but we'd like to have it.
Well, I understand, but
Yeah,
I mean,
there's-
some of it has to go with the property.
I mean,
And 2 acres is not,
2 acres is
Yeah.
is a residential lot in
Right,
that
right.
in that zoning area.
Yeah, I
in
know,
town.
I know.
That's why it's 2 acres. Some areas of town, of course, are 1 acre.
right. What I'm saying is they could take 21 acres and leave 4 acres and leave some land that you could keep
So maybe
in front of the house.
Maybe that's a proposal you need to bring forward, and with it, some sort of recompense for the loss of the 2 acres, be it the cost of the survey or some other mechanism, so that you're you got as much skin in the game as we do.
Yeah.
So you're looking for an additional 2 with the house.
I don't, not necessarily. If I could get an easement that I could keep that land
That's what I'm
somewhat
saying.
clear, you
That's what
know?
I'm saying, but in order to control that, you'd say, okay, I want an additional 2, and I'll put that in conservation for your purposes.
Yeah.
But I need to be able to cut no more than 10% of the basal area of the tree,
Right, you
or
know,
whatever.
right.
My suggestion would be to get together with Jack, as you propose, go look at the house. Make sure you want to buy it
Oh, no, I know.
first.
Right,
Then think hard how you want to propose to the Conservation Commission what you'd like to have done and bring it to one of our meetings,
yeah,
and we'll sit there and discuss it.
okay.
Because you might get up there and find out the coons have been in there or something's, I don't know, and you don't want the place. I have no idea what you're gonna see.
With the history of the property and the animals that have been there over the years.
Well, she baited them in pretty hard. And I did a lot of work on the
Yeah.
house, so I know the area.
It
But
could be most anything.
it is a
around
log
there.
cabin, so, you know, there are issues that could
Oh,
arise.
I know, it's
Yeah.
built in 74, you know, I know.
But,
Yep.
yeah, but anyway, decide that you want it or don't,
Right,
and then,
that's the main reason I want to look at
right.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
So I don't get into something that I'm,
Right.
you know, 5 years down the road, I'm going,
Yeah.
man, I
It
never
seems
should have done
reasonable.
this.
good. All right.
Okay, so I'll talk to Jack.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll help you out.
Set something up.
Good stuff, Brian. Glad to see you.
Thanks.
All right. Get it going.
Yeah, all right, let's,
John Brady.
yeah, let's
So we skip.
talk with Chris, and we'll just defer the minutes for a moment.
Yep.
Morning, Chris.
Good morning.
How are you?
Just wonderful.
Come on down.
Hi. Props.
Thank you. You already have that one.
Yeah. So trying to stay consistent.
What?
Look at you, principal operator.
Yeah.
Wow. That come with a gold seal?
No, but we're lucky to have him at this time because I've been informed that there's been changes in some of the requirements that make it just a little bit longer to try to get some of your official stuff done that way and training new people. I may be wrong, but I think I could. Man.
All right.
I lost 60 and then I put it back on.
What's going on?
So everything seems to be going pretty good. We're right on track with all the numbers. You can see in the third page, June was a pretty active month.
Yeah.
We did just over 100 tons of CB, 163 tons of solid waste, household solid waste, 2 tons of plastic, about 15 and a half, almost 16 tons of iron I shipped out. That's just a pretty consistent number of metal being shipped out every month. So
So we had 8, oh, this is year to date, we've had 18 C&D containers? Is that what I'm reading here?
no, that was this month. That was
That was month of June.
That was month of June.
18?
18 of June.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how does that compare to prior year?
It seems to be on track for last year for this month. With the June. It seems to be pretty comparable. For that month, it's been kind of up and down in previous months, but June seemed to be pretty comparable. You can see over here on the costs.
So the 11,763 cost is a 1 month cost on C&D.
Correct.
We got 11,124 in revenue.
Correct.
So we're getting close.
15, yeah, we're about 15,000 off
Yeah.
for total costs.
Okay. So it's getting better.
Yep.
Cool.
And cardboard, that doesn't include cardboard numbers. I've got about 50,000 pounds of cardboard on site right now, 57,000 if you look at this number. And right now I'm at the buck 50 a bale. I have a shipment going out this week, about
And there's,
47 bales.
is there revenue involved in that?
Yes, I should get about $4,000, $5,000 this week. Hopefully get at it. And I just shipped out a load of sheet metal. So that should be probably another 12, 13.
So that's in addition to the $615?
Costs $1,200 total for those 2 loads. So,
Okay, 12, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
12.
So July will probably be, another 5,000. So that will be, I imagine my July numbers will probably be, close to 5,000 more.
Good.
Excellent.
Any other issues going on?
Now, at this time, I have a couple more things to talk about, probably offline here.
Yep.
And then, there's just been more talk about maybe some scales. We can talk about in the future.
I guess
And we could get some research, do some more research on that.
So
I know that Osabee's getting new scales, or have them by now. You might want to talk to Bonnie,
Right.
get her input on things.
And at some point in time, I'd like to take a trip maybe to Pittsfield, I can do that on my
Yeah,
off time.
Yeah.
that's a good
They
one.
have a good setup down there.
Yep.
And plus they take, they're a satellite town, they take CUD from outside towns and charge them. And they put everybody that comes in over the scales. They have a set fee, put
Yep.
everybody over the scales. And
Well, Moldboro has scales too, right?
yes,
So I know when we looked at this before, the conclusion we came to was, here's what it's going to cost us to buy the scales. Here's what the annual cost of operating, certifying, maintaining the scales are. And here's the amount of stuff that we have going across the scales. So one of the issues for us is that when we looked at it, is the cost was high relative to the benefit. I mean, in my mind, the singular benefit is everything that comes in, you got an exact weight on. Okay, we're not estimating everybody's. If you got a heavy load in your truck, I mean, you're paying the per pound, and the guy with the lighter load, he's paying the per pound. But if the scales are only partially used, which is to say we don't have a constant stream of people using them, then the cost of buying and maintaining those scales gets spread over a smaller total volume of revenue. And either we have to jack up what we charge to cover it, or we have to say it's worth it to the town to add an extra X number of $1,000s of ongoing costs just so we have completely accurate numbers. So.
And the closer we get to break even on the revenue versus cost, the less imperative it seems there is for a scale. So if you got $11,000 worth of cost and $11,000 worth of revenue, that's about as good as you're gonna get unless we're gonna get into a C&D as a profit center. And
As long as you
I
can,
don't know how that.
as long as you can get the fees to work, it's fine.
Yeah. Now,
And you have to,
what-
you have to monitor that very closely, of course.
right.
Yeah, I just don't know how that would play for you, let's say, as a builder.
Yep.
If you're already paying taxes in town, why are you paying a premium to get rid of your C&D?
Mhm.
I mean, that's kind of, that question would come up if we decide, all right, let's go get a scale and make this thing work. I think we'd end up bringing in more revenue than we would normally have expenses for.
In talking with other builders in town, they tend to favor the scale idea, thinking it'd be a lot fairer than the eyeball guess.
Right.
So, and I'm sure that Chris has heard that as well.
Fairness
sure,
ends
so-
at the door of taxation.
Absolutely.
So, how much more are they willing to pay for fairness? 20%, 25%?
They think they may actually pay less.
They won't.
Well, the per pound cost is gonna go up
It's gotta go
if we're gonna cover our costs. Anyway, another dimension to this, if you will, is if in order to, make the scales carry their own weight, we say, well, we'll take C&D from any place. Now you got the issue that we have already, which is we only have so much room for roll-off containers to put this stuff in. So if we start bringing additional volume in, now do we need to reconfigure what we have up there so we have more available spots? I know sometimes you, in the past, have run out of room for people bringing C&D in just because everything's full and I don't have any place else to put it. So if you're going to anticipate a significant increase in volume, then the size of the facility to receive it has to change in order to be able to handle it, or have some way of efficiently swapping out the boxes kind of on the run. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just different than what we've done, and involves additional investment and additional ongoing costs. I guess from my perspective, I'm not enthusiastic about us putting additional cost on the taxpayer to add something like a scale operation that we're already covering the cost, or pretty close to covering the cost on. If we're consistently off and it's the only, or it's the best way to get there, then in my mind that's a different situation than if in evaluating and collecting the fees now we're covering the costs. And I think it's good to have it fair for everybody. If we can do it by eyeball and as consistent a judgment call from one to another as possible, then it gets us around having to add the complexity, the cost, the equipment to have the scales.
It wouldn't be that, I don't know that it would be that hard for Chris, well, not now, in the middle of summer, but sometime over winter, we could sit down and actually figure out what the equipment costs, the labor costs, and the scale costs are, and then back that into a fee schedule. You know what your tonnage is on an annual basis, back it into that tonnage, and then if you needed additional tonnage to satisfy the debt or the cost, then, what would a bringing in CD entail? And I think you'd answer a bunch of questions as to whether or not you needed additional heavy machinery to move containers around to accommodate for that, and if you need extra help, and then you just plug those numbers in and figure out at what point does it work. Because I think going to Bill's comment about burdening the taxpayer with additional equipment at the transfer station, not a great idea, and I don't think it's a workable idea. But if we could make the program work internally so that you aren't really you're increasing the gross budget, but you're not increasing the net budget of the transfer station. So you're keeping your impact to the taxpayer level, but you're increasing your operation. I would see a problem with that. But that would take some sitting down and figuring out.
Well, we've increased our containers. I've got more containers from waste management.
Yep.
Both household waste and CB, so that's not an issue. But
And that only works to a certain extent.
Right.
I mean, if you have to swap them out, let's say, if I go to a ridiculous extreme and say 4 times a day I have to be swapping these containers because they're just filling up, I mean, then it seems to me you're in a situation where you need more places for these things to be sit and be filled. Now you're almost putting somebody full-time on moving these things around.
well, that's why we basically have full-time moving, crushing,
Right.
CB. We had to move 4th of July weekend. We had to pull a container, a household waste container, put it in an empty one. We just had to do that yesterday. Pull a compactor, put it in a new compactor.
Yep.
So you're already doing some of that. If you increase the workload on that end, who's doing it?
Right. So maybe
And what are they doing?
if you already got somebody working on that, a full-time guy, then maybe you're saying I need another person
And another piece of equipment.
and another piece of equipment in order to do that.
Yeah.
Those are all things that are out there. So I like your idea of when things slow down a little bit, take a look at the numbers. Doesn't hurt to look at the scales they're using in other towns and how it's working for them.
And the
and
numbers we
understanding
got
that.
on scales, I think it'd be great if you, and don't do it on your personal time, you should do it when you're working. Go to Pittsfield, go to Ospey, go to Marlborough, if you will. Who they get their scales from? I mean, we only had one number we were looking at, I think, and it was pretty heavy duty. There may be other alternatives as far as the cost of scales are concerned as well, that are not, on a Boston or Braintree or some other level, but are on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot of pun going on here.
Yeah, you saw that.
Manpower, I had not to end that conversation, but I had a former selectman come in and say, you think you need more men. What's your feeling? Or did you have a manpower issue this week?
This week we had a little scare. Barry had a family emergency. He had to leave the state. It was a little sketchy for a moment, and we managed to get through it. But
I might comment that
we're looking at. I mean, we're still trying to put some people on.
Yeah.
your aging workforce is a super issue over there.
Yes, and this is what I'm trying to rectify is getting some younger people.
And I'm not certain, and as the resident member of the budget committee, I know how difficult the sale it would be, but I'm not certain per diem's gonna work for you. It's not working anywhere else in the world. I think at some point, we're gonna have to have that, father-son conversation about full-time help. And I think it's probably sooner than later.
Or at least full-time, part-time, maybe 2 people committed 20 hours a week.
Yeah, but getting somebody for 20 hours is...
And now is the time to be thinking this through so that when we get to budget season in the fall, we're ready to move forward. And if we're going to change the manning, what your proposal is for the change, and so that we can work through it and agree on something that for this board works, send it to budget and then fight it out there. But Yeah, I mean,
And
it's,
there are some opportunities for negotiation. I mean, there was a vote at the town meeting for recycling paper, or at least examining that. I see that as an inroad for getting your bench more fully established.
so that's, yeah, so to move along, two other items that I want to touch on. One is the paper recycling. You're continuing to work on all that stuff, so by the time we go to budget, you're gonna know what you need.
Yeah,
Okay. The other one is Island Trash Day.
correct.
How'd that go?
Smooth.
Good.
Yeah.
Nobody dropping stuff off
No.
outside the container?
But short of the container being dropped off 3 weeks early and having to be picked up, we
Yeah.
got that straightened out and it went smooth. We had everybody show up the first 2.5 hours and fill
I didn't see you down there Friday, so I don't know whether your container will fit under the wing of an airplane.
No, I'm not going to comment on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But the thing filled up quick. It went well. We filled up 3 dump trucks and a trailer for Frankie Tranchita, and we filled up a container.
Wow.
So it was successful.
So the island people are no different than the rest of us. We all have a lot of junk. And it's encouraging to see people getting rid of junk
Yes.
in a manner that gets it off the sides of the roads and out of people's yards. That's good. You guys have anything else for Chris?
Good to go.
Good.
You got enough to keep you busy?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. I wanted to ask him about the swap shop, and I know he's gonna take off, and you wouldn't have the answer, so my question to you is, the swap shop is open,
Correct.
do they clean it out once a week normally, and then toss it in the regular or the regular trash?
They try to. It seems.
Well, I guess my point is, people bring stuff down, okay? It may be good, but they don't want it anymore, but they're not gonna pay for it to deposit it, so that's my question.
Yeah,
You've been monitoring that,
yes.
all right? Thank you.
Chief Thompson, come on down.
Okay.
Yeah. How are you? So, you guys were out Saturday afternoon.
Yes. Saturday afternoon, we were called for a possible boat fire in Wolfboro with 5 people on board. We got out probably around Chase Island. At the same time, we were called to Moultonboro for a kayak issue by the Long Island Bridge, just because we're close to
Yep.
those things. And we got canceled to both of those. At the same time, there was a big black cloud of smoke coming up off of Cow Island. By the time we got around, it had gone down and we never actually found it. But, talking to boaters, they thought it was in the area of Orchard Cove. They had heard an explosion type of thing. And the only thing that we had found was a campfire in the area of 38. Which is allowed. Whether they started that with something a little bit more, but that was supposedly at 11 o'clock that was called in. In the meantime, as coming back in, there was a possible broken ankle at the beach. Someone jumped off the raft thing and thought that they had broken their ankle, so that person got transported to Huggins, and that was all within the hour period of time. For that, but
So life on a sunny,
sunny day,
sunny Saturday in the summertime, right?
Everything, and Sunday was a little less as far
Yeah.
as that goes until the sun came out and livened things up a little bit. Currently, we've done 128 fire calls, 151 medical calls, 54 service calls, and 9 special details for a total of 342. Gas burner inspections are 27, oil burner inspections 9, wood pellet stove inspections 6. Life safety was 23 for a total of 65. Engine 4 is back and seems to be working great as far as it goes. We've had a chance to pump with it. We pumped 70,000 gallons at Winter Circle Farm while the firefighter 1 class was training. And so we used that truck to make sure that it was going to meet and stay going without any issues. Rescue 1 had been out of service for approximately a week due to a sensor issue in the exhaust and the emission system. The sensor was causing the truck to go into what they call limp mode. It reduces the power to the point that it can still move, but it's at like 20 miles an hour. So they figured that out. That was a warranty item. The light this morning told that the little check engine light has come back on. So I'm not sure if we have a further issue with that, but that will be addressed. Car 1 was taken to Weston Auto Body for its rust repairs that we had looked at last year and had put in the budget, and that's been taken care of for $2,041.26. We did 2 special details on July 10th. One was traffic control at Melbourne Village Community Fair, and the other was the Island Association meeting at Ragged Island. Boat 1 did transport for FD officer and selectmen to answer any questions that the Islanders Association may have. Apparently that went well.
Yeah, okay.
The furnace replacement for Melbourne Fire Station has been ordered from last year's bids. Butler Heating will be replacing the oil furnace. Brookside Plumbing and Heating will be replacing the PVC piping for the furnace at the central station. Brookside submitted bids last year during the budget process for that. As you know, Fish and Game has sent a letter of support for the Pier 19 repairs for the wharf. That was forwarded to Kathy. And payment was received for the $1,475.01 for the Brown Road brush fire. I have started working on next year's budget, and it's apparent that a lot of things are going to be going up as far as future budgeting.
So you're getting your early marker out there, huh?
Trying to.
I think we just heard it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Just afraid that, just some of the stuff that I've been dealing with, the time that it's taken to get stuff back, find someone to do the stuff, or the prices. I just don't want to wait too long, because as it is, when things were good, it took people a while to get back to you, but now it's like impossible in some cases. The plane demo seemed to go okay on Friday. I didn't see the plane take off. I assumed that it went off without a hitch as far as it goes.
He got into the air and flew away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
No issues.
No calls for
Right.
EMS.
We didn't need the fireboat to go.
Yeah.
It came in without an issue. Obviously, things seem to be getting heated with local people and
Yeah.
things, but otherwise, the inspection for Sandy Island was completed on 6/28/2021. That was the same day that I was notifying or giving you an update. Went out and took care of that inspection right after the selectmen's meeting. That was fine. The delivery of the new air packs has been put off until mid-August, and that's again, that's a delivery thing as far as they're probably apparently sitting somewhere and
It's a sign of the
going to
time.
be coming in. And I was
Is that gonna cause you any undue issues?
It shouldn't, as long as we get them by, by August, so that we're staying within everything. One thing that I didn't put there is that we still haven't heard anything as far as radio-wise. If we do not hear about the grant in the next month, then we're gonna order the radios from there. For some reason, they stopped issuing grants for a month, and our grant writer doesn't know why. So we're going to follow up on that a little bit further. But if we put that off for too long, that could cause an issue as far as getting them. It's my understanding as far as orders for batteries and radios and things like that have been really bad as far as.
So we'll continue
needs.
working on the grant process
Yeah.
even after we've ordered it.
Yeah, if my only worry is that I think that if you purchase the radios, they may say that we're not going to give you the grant because you had the money to do so. But we'll stick out as long as we can with that to see if we can get it, because $120,000 is obviously a lot of money to the town, and if you can get that, then great. I would recommend that Kenneth J. Lang of 136 Sodom Road as a member of the Fire Rescue Department for the call department. His background checks and all the information has come back. Mr. Lang has no fire EMS training. He is the father-in-law of Austin Esme, who is a current member of the department. We received all of his information. I'll leave that with you. No decision needs to be made today. That is his current information. And do you have anything further for the fire department or myself as far as
So let's talk a little bit about the fly-in. And a concern that I've had with aircraft tied up at the wharf and the wing overhanging,
Yep.
and access for you guys when you need to go.
Sure.
It's clear to me with that wing hanging over the wharf, your equipment is not going to make it out to the.
Correct. The equipment will not make it out there. The gentleman Mr. Wood has stated that there will be someone with a plane at all times. Obviously, the plane can be turned like it was when he came in to get us out by there, and so there's no issues. If the plane is left unattended, then obviously that's when you run into issues. On Saturday, he did a touchdown while we were doing, all of those different calls. The plane came in. I don't know if that was just a practice touchdown, or he may have decided that things were too busy and left because the docks were really full. There was a lot of people. I'm thinking that's probably what he had seen, and
I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on Saturday, but he was able to land and then take right back off.
Just having the demonstration fly-in isn't the same as giving permission.
Right.
So I'm hoping that that's what we did on Saturday.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, as far as everything from what I had read or had heard, he, obviously has the airport there, so he can land at any point in time. And if he can come in like a boat and not cause any issues and not have the piers cut off, then what's stopping him from coming in like a boat, type of thing. Now, running a business out of there, I would say that might be the next step.
So the only ask on the table to us is to be allowed to cut down the height of those pilings,
Right.
so it's less of an obstruction to the aircraft
Correct.
coming in, less danger to them. That's the only thing that he has come to this board and asked for permission to do. That's the only thing that we're considering at this point. all this thing about operating a business out of the wharf and all these other things, there were people that were concerned about the fact that the state had issued a runway out on 19 Mile Bay, and all kind of different noise, all kinds of different things. The only question that's on the table for us is, will we allow the tops of those posts to be cut down for less of a hazard to aircraft? As the world exists today, my understanding is even with or without this state runway, pontoon-equipped aircraft can land on public waters as long as it's not a hazard to themselves and others. And of course, it's the pilot's responsibility to ensure that they don't do that. And as a vessel, they can tie up to a public dock. His coming to us and asking us about cutting it down is to make it a more attractive place for aircraft. But when he met with us before, I think we made it clear to him that anything as it relates to running a business from the public wharf, it's a whole different matter, and a lot more involved, from my perspective, a lot more involved in getting that point. I mean, if we're going to open up Union Wharf to being a base for commercial enterprise and sign an agreement with it between the town and whoever's going to do it, then from my view, it's important that everybody have the opportunity to compete for the opportunity to sign one of those things, is to have a vendor agreement with the town, and not say, okay, well, just one guy came to us, and so he's the guy that that gets it. And whether that's something that this board would entertain doing without going to town meeting or not is something that's open for discussion. But the only thing that he's asked us for is to cut those posts off.
Right, but that's all. That's just to make his life more convenient.
That's right.
The part that he's forgetting, and the part that we do have control over, are ordinances. And looking at that fly-in the other day, we could and probably should make an ordinance that says the wing clearance over the dock has to be 7 feet or greater. There has to be somebody at the airplane. So if the lake level drops,
Right.
I mean, I don't want to get into a situation.
When the lake level drops, yeah.
Yeah, and it will drop.
Right.
Because currently, it's pretty full.
It is.
That we're not obligated to accommodate something that's just going to screw everything up. And it's a public safety issue. It's not as if this is just a big finger of land that sits out there with boats coming in. It's also got the fireboat, the fish and game, our police officers need it. So we're not without our ability to say no. And regardless of whether he's thought of as a boat, at the end of the day, we can still say no. If it doesn't accommodate for the more important issues. It would be like us saying no to barges coming in to load building materials. If we felt that that was detrimental to the overall health of the wharf, you could say no, find some other place. Go to Wolfboro or go to Laconia or go somewhere else to load your stuff, because it's a town asset and our job's maintaining it. So I'm not, I know Chairman Markison would like to limit the question to the pilings, and that's good because that's the question before us. But I don't think that's the end of the story. I think we.
No, I think you're right. But the only thing that he has asked us for is.
He just seems like a foot in the door kind of guy. And I mean, he has a fly-in on Friday, and all of a sudden he's doing a fly-in on Saturday. I mean,
and we had the dock obviously tied up for a good hour and a half to 2 hours on Saturday.
Right.
Was it him that flew in?
I believe so. Someone said it was a red and white plane. I didn't. I just
Let's
saw
get the end numbers. Because we had somebody fly into Melbourne Wharf the other day,
Okay.
so.
I mean, Saturday's a good example. I mean, you're out there with your fireboat. You could have had another boat out there as well, I don't know.
Right.
And you have people breaking their bones and fires happening. We don't need any sort of complication at the pier. That just isn't,
No,
let's wait for them to turn their wings.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
somebody's
there
having a
would have
heart
been
attack.
no way that they could have came in because that's where we parked.
Yeah.
And we had that tied up, and actually we had part of the tar part tied up to the engine, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Well, as you know, I work for a former fire chief. I'm pretty aware of a lot of stuff that goes on in fire chiefs' abilities to do things. If you take a chainsaw and cut the wing off of that airplane because it's in the way, that is within your right, am I not correct?
Then you gotta move the pieces.
Hopefully there's no fuel.
Yeah, I was gonna say, using the fuel tanks, that would be a problem.
That may be, but you have not unlimited authority, but a very broad scope of what you can do and what you can't.
Right.
So
We definitely look at,
twisting it out.
moving it first.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but again, anything that delays you guys getting out
Right.
there.
And any
is not-
obstruction.
Right, is not good.
Right.
And
Hey, as it is,
You
you
know,
know,
I
by the
s-
time you get everything opened up, because you got everything buttoned up there, it takes a little while.
Right.
To get.
Yeah, and you get any like a stroke with them on every minute counts.
Yeah,
It's-
Seconds even.
Yeah. So,
But
all right.
okay.
we're more than willing to, to work with people as far as it goes and make it work.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Chief
Yep. Oh, Chief Shigori.
Shigori.
Yeah.
9 minutes.
Yeah.
Thought I was gonna be early, but.
Thank you.
Thanks. Dog complaint.
Yeah.
No bad dogs, just bad owners.
Yep.
Indecent exposure.
I was down at the beach,
Well, all right.
about 10 at night.
Well, I'm glad we have a name to put with that, indecent exposure.
Yeah.
That's the offense.
And then it goes on,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the look of it
Yeah.
seems to be a,
Subsequently obtained information that it was a stalking offense that occurred at the same time.
it's an interesting way to stalk, though. I mean,
Well,
you're kind of indefensible, aren't you, at that point?
stalking can also be being close to a person in violation of a court order, which is what this particular offense
Okay.
is.
Well, that was like a restraining order violation or something to that effect.
It's not a restraining order, but very similar.
Right, so, good.
Bail order saying essentially the same thing as a restraining order.
Okay.
Under 597-2 versus 173B with 633A.
I knew he was.
WD-40.
I just knew.
The alphabet soup here. Yeah. I'm glad you know what those are.
Yeah, I'm very glad.
Yeah.
And the training took place here? Or
It's online training that we did.
online?
We still have like, I think, another month of online, well, either at the end of this month or the end of, might be a couple months still of online training access. It's gonna be, well, part of it, we have to have every year 6 hours of ethics, bias training, or anti-bias training, not having bias. And the other 2 hours have to be on ethics, bias, and de-escalation. So we did it with this group last year, we're gonna do it with this group again this year, if we can. If not, we'll be through another group. It's offered Well, the academy started to offer it, and then they stopped offering
So you do that in-house, or they
it
do?
in-house in the free time. I mean, those classes are probably about 2 hours apiece, those two, but there's some are longer. Science of decision making was 4 hours long. That was a long time to sit there.
Yeah.
It was, but it was interesting too, at least the beginning and the end, because it was really kind of about bias, without using the term racial. Talked about how we make decisions and how we.
Doesn't only have to be racial, or, I mean, you can have gender bias as well.
Oh, exactly.
Each
But
person.
they didn't put all that stuff to it.
I'm subject to that all the time.
I guess my point is they didn't put that sort of to it. He
Right.
kind of gave examples of, you know, if you get, somebody puts in your mind that it's a, you know, anybody who drives a Buick does these sorts of things, then you're gonna be, when
I
you
have
see a
that with
Buick.
Subarus, you know, driving 16.
Yeah.
I know if I get behind a Subaru, I'm late.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Those guys.
Even with WRX or STIs.
No, just any Subaru.
Yeah.
So your vehicle stops continue to be down, but you're down an officer.
Down an officer, it's up slightly from ratio-wise from where it was, but it's still down.
Do you feel
Down.
that your news radar signs are effectively placed?
Well, we've got 2 new posts up that we're starting to use.
Yeah,
Obviously,
another
Durgan.
one on Durgan Road just.
Yeah, and we got another spot on Brown Road, right near the person that keeps complaining, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
We just did they just got in and just got put on Durgan, so this week we'll probably be switching to Brown to see how that goes.
Yeah. And this gathers statistics for you, right?
That one will gather statistics. The radar trailer will not anymore.
Yeah, okay.
Is the radar trailer back in service?
Yeah, it's down in Melbourne Village. But to do that, because that was, like, I don't know if it was Windows, whatever, it's a long time ago. So to do it, I have to pay like $1,000 to get the package working. And they don't make the parts for that, so if it breaks down, it's done anyways. So as those LEDs, as you probably noticed, some of them aren't working as well. There is no
I'm trying to
parts.
sell it to somebody with a food truck.
Yeah.
So that's, that one, I mean, if I spent over, last year was $1,000 to get the package to update it enough to get stats out of it again. I didn't do it. It's possible, probably will. But as it is right now, it's not collecting stats.
And you're currently working still on that grant from, what is it, Homeland Security or somebody?
To be honest, it fell off my radar with, I know Phil was supposed to get some information, but it's not till the fall. I'll check on that.
So, and I don't know
He
if
got the
that's,
name of the person.
yeah, I don't know if that's something you can put Roberta on to be chasing it.
I can
Yeah.
put somebody on it to
You know,
chase
it's
it for
just-
myself.
It's, well, I'm, other than yourself, I'm thinking use somebody to
Well, there isn't
put
much
it on, like,
else.
you're, huh?
There isn't much else.
Right, right. And anything that goes together, you're gonna end up reviewing anyway, but
Yeah.
just having somebody else do things that, there are things she can't do that you have to do. So if that's something that
I can see what I can
you
do.
can have her.
Phil
her
did
on.
get the name of the person that does it now, so,
Good, good.
Yep,
because they changed, people changed around a little bit there, so
yep.
I'm checking on that.
And everybody's healthy in the department other than you?
Sure.
They're all good?
Well, people have wanted to take some time off, and we
That's-
haven't been able to fill our details.
Yeah.
And that's,
I had to tell Camp Belknap we can't do them.
Oh, on their changeover days?
Yeah, I said I can't do them, I can't find people to fill them all the time, so
Yeah.
they've elected to hire somebody outside, a private investigator to do them,
yeah,
so.
that's okay, right?
Yeah, I didn't think they needed them after I went to the one. They changed their pattern. They used to.
Yeah, they're coming in down by the.
Come in by the laundromat.
Yeah.
They do the COVID testing up in the field, then they line up the cars in the field waiting for the results to come back and come back out. So they trickle out one at a time when they get the results rather than stack up. They also allot hours. You come between 11 and 12. You come between 12 and 1. So to try and, so not everybody's showing up at 11 o'clock. I hope they keep that after COVID goes, because I think it's worked. I mean, I did the first set of details there, and there was maybe 2 cars in the road. And there's one time a car stopped, and one person didn't want to wait and went around them. And it was somebody impatient. I think it's probably somebody that we may know who's dealt with that.
There are impatient people in that area.
There are some impatient people, and there are some people who obviously have some conflict with the camp that may have.
So
It was literally a question of which road do I turn down? Turn down this way. So somebody stopped that short.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they could have stopped. It probably wouldn't even need to stop if they just like slowed down, laid on the left, took the foot off the gas and put the foot on the brake. By the time that they approached, they probably could just accelerate it again, but they just zoomed right around. But I went there yesterday and stopped by and talked to the investigator, somebody I know from, used to be a chief. And I was talking to him a little bit and seeing how it was going. And the other suggestion I had is some signage, which he's also concurred, and it's kind of suggested them to get some additional signage. They
Yeah,
do a pretty good job.
those little signs are
Well, that wasn't
better
the-
than nothing, but
That wasn't that bad. What the problem was at the particular intersection where I was and where he was, there are 2 or 3 groups of campers that go in there and no sign. There's signs for the seniors, there's signs for the cadets, but not for the others. So when people got to that particular road, they're like,
What am I?
is this the one I want? And that's what, kind of the stop. What are you looking for? Juniors, okay, go down to the right. Middlers, go down to the left. But so there's like 3 groups that go into that road, but some went to the right, some went to the left. That's why they put somebody there. But if they put some people overshot it, backed up to say, hey, it wasn't often. And my concern is that, I hope, I shouldn't say my concern, my hope is they keep this going forward and that's not just something for COVID. Because it did not block up the road, you didn't see anything like we've seen videos of at some of the planning board presentations.
well, that video is there. It'll be there forever.
Yeah, but I'm saying.
And they'll keep trying
Going
to
forward,
All right, so they've got a solution that's
seems to address that concern. Well, does a good job.
good.
And even without the signs, it wasn't really an issue. When I was there yesterday, like 3, 4 cars stopped in a row. Nobody got impatient, went around, and it's literally like, is this the road I want? No, you go down that way. Is this the road I want? Yeah, you go down here to the left. So I mean, it's really was not a.
So we're not, other than you who don't care whether you get a vacation or not because you don't work that hard, but your other 2 officers,
Yeah, something like that.
is there any arrangement we can make with other departments so that we can get our officers on
Well, I
vacation?
mean, we put the state and county on call. And then we take call, like if somebody takes, like, for example, like right now, we have a couple nights a week where they cover.
Right.
But that means instead of taking a call at 3 in the morning, the next day is taking a call at 11 at night. When they go in, the county goes in at 11.
Yeah. No, we don't have enough people. I was thinking if we were a little larger department, we could make a deal with, let's say, Moultonborough and say, okay, I'll fill in for your guy when he's on vacation, you fill in for my guy, or something like that. But we can't do that because we only have 2 officers other than the
And
chief.
the other problem is, like, trying to fill these details. They don't have people to spare either.
Right.
Wolfboro called me the other day and said they can't fill it, for a detail. And so.
But I'm not thinking in detail. I'm
Oh,
thinking
even
of-
just extra shifts though, I mean, they don't, it's summer, everybody's busy around here. So they don't have people to spare. And even when the county covers us, one day they were covering us, they're supposed to start at 3, I stayed on till like 5:36. They were up at an incident on the Kank, and they were up in Bartlett or Jackson. So, because they cover for other towns that go in too. Freedom, Effingham. Chatham doesn't have a department, but Bartlett and Jackson, if they don't have somebody or if their person's tied up, they're responding up there, so.
Yes, it just seemed strange. But it's something that is not fixable by a board of selectmen.
And certainly not in the short term.
Not short term. Long term, adding people is what's gonna do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
All right.
it caused some angst. I mean, somebody wanted to take some time off. They got it, but we had to, the rest of us had to really put a lot of extra
And I
hours
think
in.
in that vein, I think, and given the paucity of candidates, I think it's important that we maybe put the word out that we're looking for people. Even if you know, at some point in time, we're gonna need an extra officer, or we're gonna need a bench, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think if you wait until the last minute when the change happens, or you've got a 90-day notice on a retirement, let's
Yeah.
say, you're really putting yourself under the gun. I mean, trying to find people today is
I
hard
think,
enough.
well, obviously, you know, if that were to happen, and ways to get that out is for retirement. Obviously, you have some notice, but if it seems like every year, the last few years, we've had somebody out for some reason.
Right.
Some shortnesses. You know, COVID didn't help when people had to go into isolation, but it may not go away for a little while still. You know what I mean? I mean, it's.
And I don't see any value in not letting our officers or any employee have a vacation.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, we try to do it, but it's
It
hard.
doesn't help the work product at all.
Yeah, no, it makes people consider going someplace where it'd be easier
Or,
to get
or
vacation.
make bad decisions. I mean, it's,
Right.
Or be sour, and, yeah,
well, they're always sour.
yeah.
We should do about that. Anyway, just putting that bug in your head that I would be willing to support an additional officer in the budget process. If you can come up with a plan, I'm happy to bang heads with the rest of them out there.
Well,
Because I don't think you can get the coverage that the town requires, not 24/7, but the coverage that they require with the officer level that you currently have.
it's kind of shown the last few years. I mean, almost something's happened.
Yeah.
Either COVID, somebody out sick, a couple people out sick,
And even without that, all you need is a
or a question.
major domestic and people in court,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden your scheduling goes haywire. Anyway, that's all I got to say.
Okay. Anything else?
Detail rate?
Oh. That is,
Detail rate, special
Yep.
detail. You wanted to wait till this week to
Yep.
discuss it.
we did.
Okay, that's
We're-
all set.
And it's, all right, here it is, right here. So, and you want to increase,
Right now, we're 60 per hour, 40
Yep.
to the officer, 3-hour minimum.
okay,
I want to go to, along the lines of, it's still less than a lot of places, 75 with a 4-hour minimum, 45 to the officer. Part of it's the rate increase for the retirement system, which applies to 3 out of the 4 officers here. And part of it's also because, you know, maybe $5 extra, maybe a little more inducement to
Bring people in.
bring people in.
right, right.
I mean, there is an opportunity on details. You know, like they do that, Center Harbor does it, sometimes, you know, other places do it. Loudon does it, where you come in, like Loudon, that's what they do. Everybody becomes a special officer for the days or
Right.
you're not sworn in as an officer, you're kind of sworn in, but you know what I mean? It's not the same as hiring somebody.
Right.
But that's for details. It's kind of a exception under the law. If you have a special event, you can do that.
So that skirts around the retirement issue?
Oh, no, it's still retirement issues. Like if somebody's in the retirement system, you have to track those hours.
And those
How it
folks,
comes up.
those
No,
folks,
what I'm saying is that it used to be that, and I thought they had cured the problem, that details were pushing some people's retirement well into the six figures.
Well, I guess to find it a problem, there were a few people that were able to do that. The vast majority were not.
Yeah.
And the few places they did have a fix for that, they had a cap on what your retirement could be.
Right.
And if someplace, like let's say Dover, said we're gonna, in our largesse, we're gonna allow our people to boost it, they said, well, if you're gonna allow them to boost it, then Dover, you contribute that, you fund it.
Yeah.
Tufton Borough taxpayers shouldn't pay for Dover's largesse. Dover, Hampton, Manchester, Merrimack, Portsmouth, places that allowed their employees to get into that, screamed very loudly to the legislature, and they kicked that can down the road, the effective date of that, when they had to terminally fund their largesse. For 3 years, they kicked it down the road, and eventually they said, nah, never mind, we're not gonna make you pay for the benefits. So there are,
So it hasn't been fixed.
well, it has sort of been fixed, but I think it hurts the system. Anybody that comes in after a certain date, their duty rates do not go into the system. I don't think that helps. I think that's why the system's not fixing as fast as it could be.
So we basically got a bunch of people that are grandfathered.
Grandfathered people, like 3 out of the 4 of us, we have to pay the retirement system on their details. We have one who's hired newer, Officer Gillis, does not go to the retirement system. The problem with that is, you know, a significant number of people never make it to vesting. And so even if they pull their money out, they're only pulling their money out.
Right.
They're not pulling out
The contribution.
the employer contribution, which in the part of a detail, like on a paving detail or like Camp Belknap paid that 33%. And that's would stay in the system. Something like it's over half that get out before 10 years before they're vested. So that's why I think it hurts by not putting that money in, because
it's the employer contribution that never goes in, that
it's never in, and which typically goes in. I mean, like, look here, we don't do that many details. We're not boosting our, yeah, we get a triple here and there. We're not getting a boost. It's very, you know, all those, any details she works, she gets her much. We benefit to some degree because that goes in, we're covering that in case she was covered by it,
Right.
as is every other department, not just us. It really, I think it hurts the system overall, but no one will believe it. Because, and the other part of that is, that money is, you know, it's compound interest. You know, my amount that I put into the system is less than half of what my total account is for me, which is the same thing as every other part of it. But, like I said, politically it was, they had a solution and some prominent places tried.
Couldn't get the votes,
Because
right?
they didn't want to pay for their, I say largesse, because they allowed other things to go into that contribution towards boosting people's retirement. They gave huge severance packages to people. And it wasn't just police or fire, there was also other groups that were, there was some highway places had some pretty good severance packages in their contracts. But my argument was, over the 3 years that they kicked that can down the road, they could have renegotiated their contracts too, and changed that, what would amount to their benefit payout at the end.
So how long has our special duty rate been $60?
Gosh, a long time.
So
I don't know.
Yeah. So I make the motion that we approve the chief's proposed increase in special duty details as written.
I'll second.
This
Any
was-
further discussion?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good.
All right. Thanks, chief.
Yep.
Right.
So, all right.
See any William Road people?
No, that's
Or you?
Which is fine.
Isn't
Help us move along. So we let's go to the signature file.
to do that?
First up, we have a selectmen's deed for 60-2-81. So this is something that we hold on
Number of cars, direction.
right, on a tax deed right now, and we have one at 15-1-1. And both of those former owners are prepared to redeem their properties.
So they want this signed before redemption? Is that what's going on?
So it will be available at redemption.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we sign it.
I'll second that.
How we doing?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You got my note, Dennis?
Pardon me?
Did you get my note?
I did, thank you. I've been in touch. She sent me some info.
Excellent.
Nice job.
Thanks. Sorry to interrupt that.
So we'll let the tax collector date this.
Yes. Next, we've got a right of burial. This is for Carl and Sarah Svensson.
Yes.
For plots at the Town Hall Cemetery. And we also have one for Amanda and Michael Mavrakos,
Yes.
Town Hall Cemetery, 2 rights of burial.
I'll make a motion we sign both.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Got an intent to cut for 46-2-15 on Canaan Road.
Can I take a look at that?
Yep.
Yeah. All they're gonna do is cut white pine. That seems a little odd, but I'll make a motion that we sign it. We have a full.
I'll second that. They won't cut white pine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have request for change in employee compensation for new employee Cami LaPierre and for the conservation secretary Jane Lemire.
She was
Yes.
that one actually was back in January, we just
Right.
never got the paper.
Right. This one is,
So Jane was in January.
yeah, and this one will be, Cami starts next week, is that right?
August 2nd.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
I'll make a motion we sign again.
I second that motion again.
all in favor?
Aye.
And we have a letter of representation to Robertson Green PLLC as auditors of the town of Tufton Gross financial statements. Okay, see this? This is for 2021,
Right.
this year. Yep.
I'll make a motion we sign.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? on to action items. We dealt with the special detail rate for the police department. Next, we have an abatement request for a late fee for taxes. It's a $15 fee.
For what tax?
This is, huh?
Which tax is $15?
So this is a late fee for taxes received in June. And the replacement payment was received also in June, both before the due date of the taxes. And the tax collector is recommending that it be
We give them back
abated
$15.
$15.
All right. I'll make a motion, we refund the $15 to
I'll second that.
taxpayers.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We have two letters here from Crispin Lochner on Lang Pond Road.
Another one came in this morning. It's in the
Okay.
back.
All right.
This is about speed signs.
So one is about traffic and speeding on Lang Pond Road, and with an answer from Chief Shigori. I'm sorry, I've not read the answer yet.
I haven't read the answer either. I read the other two letters. I
Yeah.
haven't seen them.
So, one of the things he's asking about is if there's a weight limit on Lang Pond Road. My recollection is there is not, except during mud season, when there's a weight limit on all town roads. But he's asking that more signs be added to the road, to remind drivers of the speed limit. And he's concerned about drinking in the area of town access to Mirror Lake on Lang Pond Road. A number of things in the letter.
Well, I suppose Chief's not here.
No, no longer, yeah. Oh, this is this morning's on the back, huh?
Yeah. He seems pleased about what's been done so far.
Well, previously, it was a study done, with the monitoring and the differences of vehicles that went across it, one thing or another, but 25 miles an hour is really fast when you're walking your dog down a narrow road and the car goes by 3 feet from you.
Mm-hmm.
You think that's really fast. I mean, it's obvious.
Yep.
And they were finding that that speed really wasn't an issue in that previous study. Nor was the huge truck traffic or anything. But this guy's a new resident, so
Right.
he's bringing back concerns that have already been addressed in some ways.
Yep.
Well, and another good reason for him to support the bolstering of the police department.
Yeah.
Not extra patrols, we need extra people.
Right.
Right.
So I don't know we have an answer for him today, but I think that it's, his other letter was to us relative to swim lines that he has a permit from the state for, and I presume that's for his beach, not for the town.
Not for the
access.
town, right. I actually was there on Saturday,
Yeah,
and yes, it does pertain to his beach, not the town's.
and so it was not clear to me from his letter if he was talking about somebody beaching on his beach or beaching on the,
On the town's property.
yeah.
I saw no evidence of it, but I'm not clear about it either.
So, I'm I'm happy to invite him to come in and talk with us. I think these are conversations that are better had in person than by trading emails back and forth, and certainly better than on the.
Agreed.
On the.
Hard to figure out what the priorities
Do you want him
are.
to come in the next time Chief Shigori's in? Or do you want to just have him come in, whatever's available for him?
I'd say, whenever, and
Whatever's good
if,
for him.
what's good for him, and if the chief is available to sit in on that, that's great.
Okay.
Next item we have here is, this comes from Diane. The town has received a credit from the co-op for capital contributions over a period of 40 years or something. And the co-op chose to apply it to an account that has very little activity, which means that if it's kept on that account, it'll take about 3 years to work off the credit that they've applied. And she asked me the other day, and I said, well, just send it over to us. Because she had talked with the co-op and said, well, why did you apply it there? And it's like, well, we applied to a customer, and this is the account we picked up. So I think we ought to push Gavin and put it on an account that is going to use that credit up
Absolutely.
in a month or two.
We know what they've done.
Huh?
We know what they've done.
Right,
It's not
right.
that-
Hang on to it as long as possible.
Right.
So I don't know that we need a motion to do that, but I do think,
Yeah, either the town office or the transfer station or the fire station.
Right.
right.
One of those
Right.
three.
Yep, well, our biggest user of electricity is the central station. But any one of the accounts that would use it up in a reasonable period of time, I think is appropriate. Putting it on the one account in town that has the lowest,
It's just
the lowest charge.
It's just the meter fee.
Right, because we never use everything else. So, and my belief is it was not random on their part. And
I concur with that belief.
And we're not probably the only customer that had it applied in that way, that it was, they took the opportunity to say, well, we'll give it to every customer, but it'll take this account a lot longer.
It's only taken 40 years for them to do the right thing.
Yeah,
So
right.
I don't expect it'll take less than that
Right.
To get it back.
to correct it.
Exactly. So, do we need a motion for that?
I don't believe so. She just wants to know which ones you want. She didn't
Well,
know.
put it on the one that's
The biggest user.
the biggest user, which is the central
Right.
station. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So we have a letter July 1st from Primex. Another premium holiday this year.
I love
So
what you call it.
$24,424 in change. In the past, we've said, thank you, send us the money, and rather than, hold on to it and apply it against our account next year. And I'm going to suggest that we do the same thing again.
Yeah, it makes it a lot
Because
cleaner.
otherwise, when you go back and look at the accounts year to year, it goofs things up when somebody says, we only paid this much for insurance last year, so that's what we'll budget next year, and then it comes up more because they call it a premium holiday, but it's basically a rebate of overpaid premiums. I mean, it's premiums that they collect based upon a expectation of a certain level of payout.
Right.
That doesn't happen, you refund those. So are we in agreement?
I think we are.
All right.
I'll make a motion, we instruct Primex to cut us a check.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The final action item we have is the unsealing of sealed public minutes. So minutes from October 5th and December 3rd of 2018 from August 23rd, September 9th, October 7th, October 21st of 2019, minutes from, 2 sets of minutes from the 3rd of February, 2 from the 10th of March, a set from the 6th, from the 2nd of June, the 8th of June, 2 sets from the 15th of June, a set from the 6th of July, from the 8th, 10th, 14th, 17th of August, from the 28th of September, the 16th of October, the 19th of November, and the 7th and 31st of December of 2020. So I will move that we unseal those minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So that clears us through 2020.
Right.
That's good.
I would
Yep.
comment that I really appreciate having all this information available on Friday when I come in to sign checks. Gives me a chance to go through this so that it doesn't take any longer
Yep.
at this meeting.
Yep.
Very nice. Thank you to our administrative secretary.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Sound like
We
we'll-
have
So
the
it's-
minutes.
Huh?
The minutes.
Yeah, let's do the minutes
Yeah,
next.
quickly.
Thank you. When you get to my age,
I know.
it's a problem. So the first set of minutes are the minutes from Friday, July 9th, work session.
I'll move approval of those.
Second.
minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The regular meeting minutes from Monday, July the 12th.
I'll move the approval as written.
Okay.
Okay, I'll second. I'm sorry, I was reading the action items.
All right. And all in favor?
Aye.
And I
And-
snuck one more in.
Hmm?
And I snuck one more in.
Yeah. And this is the work session minutes from our work session down at the town dock this past Friday.
Move approval as written.
All right.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. So I'm gonna skip over correspondence and go to Selectmen's update. I don't wanna squeeze that one out. So, Chip?
In expectation of the Willand Road residents and also in response to Laurel Podson's emails, I went up to Willand Road to look at these suspect trees. I think and I may be wrong because my eyesight's not that great, but I think that the hemlocks that she's talking about are not in our right of way. And I guess my only statement would be that we don't have any right to cut trees outside of the right of way without some exigent circumstance or the agreement with the landowner. So
Exactly.
Right.
Because in Jim's proposals that he gave to us and that these people have seen, one of those issues, and that is out on that end of the road, said may require landowner permission.
Right.
So it just may. You're right. And I think that concern especially will be addressed at the time.
Yeah, and I mean, we're not asking him to expand the right of way.
No.
And we have plenty of room for whatever needs to happen.
And
These dead trees are another question, but I don't
Absolutely.
think she's trying to save dead trees.
no,
And I guess what I would add to what you said is that any of this work that we're going to be doing will be to address drainage issues on the road and maintainability issues on the
Absolutely.
road. Not just summer, but
right.
the ability to get it properly cleared in the wintertime.
Basically, that's the
Yeah.
road agent's job in a nutshell, right?
Yeah,
Maintain the roads so they can be plowed in the winter time.
right. So I think we're sensitive to those situations, and certainly anything outside of the right-of-way is not fair game for us to address without involvement of the landowner.
So that was my adventure.
Okay.
Down in the fly-in, which was
Yeah.
great fun.
Yep, absolutely.
Did that include the knoll? The one we looked at? Was the
So,
knoll
so
around
the,
right
knoll
of way?
there.
the knoll on their side of the road, she's concerned about that being, right, and how much we're gonna get into that, I don't know. Again, there are drainage issues, particularly on that side of the road.
But even if part of that knoll, and I think part of it does extend into the right of way, if the road agent starts carving away at it, he's gonna have to stabilize that back.
Right,
So there's gonna have to be a significant amount of
Something.
work that goes on. We're just not gonna be able to dig it out and leave it raw.
right.
But I don't know. Without a surveyor's statement, I can't tell you exactly how much of that they're gonna get into.
Yeah,
And I don't know how many roads, very few of the roads in town, do we actually extend our work all the way to the edge of the right of way.
yeah,
Generally, unless it's like Ledgehill Road or Sodom Road, it's generally, even Sodom Road is limited. The amount of work that's done. I mean, there are trees in the right of way on Sodom Road that I know, so.
Mhm.
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
That's it for me.
all right. Guy?
Attended the Conservation Commission meeting. We had some non-public conversation. A young lady from the Carroll County Conservation Commission came to our meeting with ideas and possible resources, one of which was that there's a possible grant for bike trails that people have applied for and gotten. I passed that information on to Dennis
Mm-hmm.
and her card, and as we quickly talked, apparently he's spoken to her about it, and they're looking into that for the possibility of the bike trail that they would like to have on the town property behind the fire station. That led into a conversation about erosion, one thing or another, that might come from riding mountain bikes on those trails, so to speak. A lot of that land already has a trail because it's an old sand pit, and it's basically old roads up through there that they're using for trails. And the commission, after a couple of people were a little nervous about it, decided that if you can have such a facility in a controlled area, it's better than just having nothing and people going everywhere. And that's pretty much my update for everything.
And you're not creating the wheel.
No,
And
no,
there are bike parks.
Everywhere.
Very close to here, actually.
right,
so
yes, and
it's-
trails as well and
Yeah.
things like that. So it went well, but it was nice to have her there. She's available.
Great.
The Conservation Commission will use her in any way they can. She's young, which is nice, which means she may be around for a while. And that's a good thing.
Yep.
Where is her office?
I think she said it was in Conway. I gave Dennis
So
the
she's
card.
part of the Cooperative Extension Service, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Because
but
that's where their office
she
is.
represented herself as Carroll County Conservation Commission.
Mm-hmm.
And that may have been established
Yeah,
when I wasn't looking,
it's possible.
but it sounds like it's part of the Cooperative.
Or at least
Extension.
associated with them, yeah.
But a good person to have on board with
Yeah.
conservation. And again, she was aware of a grant, and she and Dennis are looking at that now, so could help.
Okay.
That's me.
So, since we last met, the planning board opened hearings on the two cell towers, the one behind the highway garage and the one up behind the fire station, and had lots of public input. Those hearings will be continued to August, I think it's 19th, at the earliest, awaiting input from the independent engineer's review of the RF energy and noise and all that sort of thing. So they're pretty straightforward. We had some abutters concerned that we're gonna have these big antennas up there that aren't there now. But, I mean, that's, where we put an antenna, it's gonna be where it wasn't before. And certainly not the same sorts of concern that we saw with the one that's approved down on Tufton Neck. And I think with that, we established a pretty good template for conditions on the installations that will put the town in a much better stead than we are with the tower on County Road. The other thing I'll mention is the Milfoil Joint Board is meeting here on Thursday morning at 9:30. It's probably the last meeting of the Milfoil Joint Board. We're at this point in the process of getting ready to disestablish it, and our mission has been completed, essentially, and coordination that helped bring along has happened, and so we're going to go back to the old business as usual.
So we can wait for the new zebra mussel board to start up?
Let's hope not. Yeah. I think that's all I have. All right. So let me quickly go to correspondence. North Country Village water project grant approval. A letter on CDFA application deadlines for the remainder of 2021. Thank you letters from a number of the agencies that we support every year: Lakes Region Humane Society, Caregivers of Southern Carroll County. Let's see, what else do we have? American Red Cross, CASA, and 68 Hours of Hunger. Got ZBA notices of decision on several cases, and a DES letter of deficiencies for violations on the lakefront at 63-1-8-6 down in Mirror Lake. Letter notifying us of postal rate changes. An update from the electric co-op on broadband. I think that's it. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
Did I miss anything on your list?
The only thing is, I just reminded you that certificate of insurance have not been received on either the outrigger or the two vendors that keep going to the concert.
Thank you for that. And I ran into Dennis on Friday, and he said, "Oh yeah, well, I think if I remember this correctly, yeah, we're trying to get that." I'm going to suggest that if those certificates are not here for the concert vendors before Thursday, that they not be allowed to vend at the concert. I mean, if you have insurance, getting a certificate is
so simple.
It's a matter of calling your broker and saying, "I need it," and send it to this person, and it's done. So if people are unwilling to do that, then they're not willing. Huh? There's a problem there of some sort.
Yes.
So.
Do we need a motion on that?
I'm happy to entertain a motion.
Then I will move that unless the vendors and or the outrigger canoe folks provide us with a certificate of insurance before the next concert, that they not be allowed to operate on town property.
All right.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. I presume that Kathy will send notices out to Dennis, especially because that's where it's all happening.
I would appreciate, if you don't mind, you speaking with Dennis.
That's going to be an issue, because when I'm going to find him, I don't know. Maybe today.
I think he might be here
If he's
today.
up there now, I will, but if not, I'm leaving
I
the
will
state
try.
shortly, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I will try that.
Well,
Because I have brought it up enough.
I'll be right in touch with you in a few minutes. So,
Okay.
no problem.
I'm gonna suggest that we have Kathy get a hold of Tyler Phillips just for an update.
Yeah, good idea.
For a while.
Yep,
Keep that moving.
good idea. The other thing is, I want to start us on a road review in preparation for the budget cycle this coming year. We've talked about putting provision in next year to do some neighborhood road or neighborhood road
More.
paving
Yep.
work in addition to the major roads. And we haven't had a ride around with a road agent in several years, and I think that would be a good thing for us to do sometime in the, again, before we get to into the
Yeah, when we
paving
plan on
system.
doing that in August or
Yeah.
early
Well,
September.
you're gone for,
I will be back in town on the 10th of August,
all right. So you're leaving this week, right?
Wednesday.
Yeah, okay. So,
Another European holiday?
No, this is a Michigan holiday.
There's no such thing. That's like a Texas holiday. There's no such thing as that.
Well, I think 3 days on a racetrack is a holiday for me.
oh, yeah, yeah, really. So, at any rate, a ride around, I think, is something that
Right.
is in order. Also, I want to get Dave Jeffers to update that road survey information that
Right.
the Lakes Region Planning Commission has with our, the road repaving that we've done
Right.
in the meantime, so we can sit down and take a look at,
Yeah,
where that's
that
at.
and the culverts.
yeah, yeah,
Well, and we may not have implemented their suggestions exactly, but I note that I say we, previous board and us as well, we're working in that direction.
We are. We are.
I'm more confident than I was before, let's put it
Yeah.
that
Well,
way.
we
We're trying hard.
recognized when we got it that
Right.
it wasn't going to be exactly what they wanted us to do.
Right, but it was a good idea to look
Yep.
at his suggestion, and worked out well.
So, am I calling him, or you
yeah.
just?
Would you call Dave?
Mhm.
He was on vacation last week, I think I remember
Okay,
seeing.
and you
so,
want him in here, or you
So-
just want him to update it?
we want to update
Okay. Roadway,
the survey, and my understanding from before is that it's not something that you can drag around with them. Their access to it is at a
Okay.
computer at their place or something. Anyway, call them up and we'll figure out the best way to get it done. I'm happy to make time to go over and sit down with him and go through it as he's doing the update, or somebody else can do it. But I think we want to, at the very least, get the road survey brought up to where things are today.
okay.
And then we can sit down and use that as a tool that it was
Right.
designed to be, so that we can
So when we're
ferret
doing
away
that
going
ride
forward.
around, we don't miss that red culvert that's been sitting
Yeah,
out there.
exactly.
in Hinterlands.
Yep, right. All right, do we have any other business?
Got Joe.
Do we have a Joe input? Yes, Joe?
Two things. What was the credit that we received over the 40 years substantial? You didn't mention the amount.
I think it's
$500, I think it is.
That was it?
So
506.
capital
It
credit.
was only
yeah.
for a short period of time though, from 71 to I think 80.
Okay.
So
I just, you mentioned the amount. Fine. How are we doing on, any report on that 59 Dame Road about the guy's driveway? Did Jim take care of that?
So
status?
we've agreed that we're gonna fix it,
Okay.
right?
Oh.
And it's gonna be fixed before the snow flies.
and to the limit of the right of way.
Yeah,
Okay, that's all I have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion. We adjourn.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
We did it.
Thank you,
Bill.
thank you, I appreciate
No
it.
problem. We could be, well, without any Willand Road people, it helped a lot.
Well, it did, and